Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Todd coming at you with another episode of Living Your Best Life. And I want to say thank you so much, of course, for hanging out with us for a few minutes, wherever you are in the world, whenever you are in the world right now. So, if you don't know already, I'm here to tell you what we do on our show. Well, we invite professionals on to talk about what they do and how what they do is contributing to a healthier society, a wealthier society, just a better society as a whole. These individuals, these professionals are out there in the trenches each and every day helping people do just that, live their best lives. And I had the awesome opportunity to speak with the awesome Dr. Kimberly Walker. She's going to come on the show. She's going to talk about a topic that even though, yes, we are talking about it more nowadays, especially since COVID, and that's mental health. But I still think we definitely need some methods and strategies to talk about it and open up that conversation even more. And she's going to be talking about a unique method that she uses called RTT. And she's going to break it down. I don't want to even try to attempt it because that's not that's not my space. But she's going to talk about her strategy in terms of how to achieve overall wellness when it comes to mental health. So you're in for a treat, everybody. I look forward to you on the other side of the commercial, which the commercial is. So you're in for a treat, everybody. So please take notes and get in contact with her. Also, like the video. Please subscribe, to the video and our channel here. And I totally appreciate that. Now, if you're 50 and you have that gray hair or that salt and pepper thing, as we also like to say, there are foods that we really shouldn't eat anymore, or we need to drastically reduce, right? And I've uploaded or created a list of 50 foods that we should definitely stop eating after the age of 50. Bottom line, we don't need these foods in our lives anymore. Alrighty, so download the free download and let me know what your thoughts are about it. I'm really curious to know what you think about it. Alrighty, so listen, on the other side of the commercial, we have the awesome Dr. Kimberly Walker coming up. Y'all take care and peace. What's going on, everyone? This is Todd coming at you with another episode of Living Your Best Life. And of course, I want to say thank you to everyone out there who's tuning in whenever you are, wherever you are in the world right now. Of course, if you don't know already what we do on the show, I'm getting ready to tell you right quick. We invite professionals on to talk about what they do and how what they do is contributing to a healthier society, a wealthier society, just a better society in general, right? Now, these individuals, these professionals are out there in the trenches each and every day helping people do just that, live their best lives. Now, today on the show, I had the awesome honor to sit down with this young lady, Dr. Kimberly Walker, and she's going to be talking about a topic that I feel, especially since COVID, we're talking about it more, but I think we can talk about it. I think we can definitely talk about it even more, and that's mental health. Okay, and she's going to talk about a specific strategy that she uses to help people get to that wellness of mental health called RTT. Now, I'm not going to break it down. She's going to be the person to do that, but definitely take notes, okay? Because she's awesome at what she does. She's passionate about what she does. And I look forward to hearing and seeing what your comments are and just get in contact with her, all right? And also like the video, everyone, and please subscribe to the channel. I really would appreciate that. So listen, also download the 50 foods that we should stop, especially if you're over the age of 50. Stop eating after the age of 50, okay? If you don't stop eating them, then drastically cut them down, okay? All right, so these are 50 foods that we should definitely stop eating or just reduce overall, especially if you are over the age of 50. So everyone, on the other side of the commercial right quick, I want you to get your notepads out, notebooks or whatever, take notes, get in contact because we got the Dr. Kimberly Walker coming up. Y'all take care, peace. And so welcome back, everyone, to the show, Living Your Best Life. And as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Listen, hey, if you're 50 and beyond, like myself, 57 here, you want to stay away from those foods that are killing us. Okay, so we know what foods are just taking us under, and so download that list, download that guide of 50 foods we should stop eating, especially if we're over the age of 50. And if we don't stop eating, at least reduce them. So download the list, everyone. So, of course, you already know what we do on the show. We invite awesome people onto the show to talk about what they do and how what they do is contributing to a better society, right? So today you're for a real treat, because I think in today's world, you're hearing more and more about our state of our mental health. And I would agree that there is something that has definitely happened over the past few years, whether it was COVID, but I think probably beyond that, where there has been a decline in people really knowing how to become well or get well in the mental health area. And so I want to invite people onto the show to be able to speak about that, because I'm not a mental health therapist. I work with people in a different field, of course, but I want to invite and have the opportunity to have a conversation with this awesome young lady here, Dr. Kimberly Walker. And coming in from Columbia, Maryland, I think that is right? Columbia, Maryland? Right, coming in from Columbia, Maryland. I want to say thank you so much, Doc, for hanging out with us to share your expertise on some special strategies when it comes to overall well-being, as it relates to mental health, but also even beyond mental health. So thank you so much for hanging out with us for a few minutes today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about you and, what got you into the field of mental health to begin with.
Okay. Well, so I am a psychiatrist, adult, child, and adolescent trained, and I have been in psychiatry more than 30 years. So, I mean, that's been a long journey for me. I have to say that during 2021, I experienced burnout, because of COVID, like a lot of mental health professionals. And I really found myself floundering, wondering if I was going to be able to continue being a psychiatrist because of the misery, the constant misery that I was encountering, vicarious trauma. And while trying to figure out what I was going to do, I came across a modality called rapid transformational therapy, RTT. And this modality is developed by Marissa Peer, and it involves hypnosis. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But while becoming certified for this, because I thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to help me help my patients. I had to undergo the process numerous times to be certified. And I became aware of limiting beliefs. So beliefs that I had internalized because of some of my experiences growing up as a Black woman in America. And I became aware that I was kind of stuck and kind of burned out. And some of these limiting beliefs had contributed to some of what I was, suffering with. So that's kind of how I came to what I'm doing now with rapid transformational therapy.
Gotcha. And look at this is I've seen the letters out there before, but I never really, took a deeper look at what it was all about. And so, like you said, we'll go into some of the breakdowns of what it does and how it helps people move from point A to point B with regards to their mental health. But, going back to who you are, because I think, like you say, you are a Black woman in America, and that has its own challenges, but coming up, I think, like you said, earlier, living in Philadelphia, and I lived a large part of my life, in New York City. So I kind of know what it feels like to be in this, one of these environments where it's day to day, and how did you overcome, or how did you deal with that everyday hustle and bustle of, the time in Philly and to who you are now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I'm from Philadelphia
Uh-huh.
and my life began there, but I actually moved to the suburbs in
Gotcha.
elementary school.
Okay, gotcha.
So the mostly white suburbs of Bucks County, which has
Mhm.
its own
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
permutation. So
Yeah.
I did not suffer a lot of discrimination, I have to
Yeah.
say, when looking back. But um, what I did find was that being a Black person was not celebrated.
Mm.
So, um, while I didn't get lots of negatives from the folks around me, and I had good friends, the fact that my beauty's not celebrated, that
Mhm.
took a toll that I didn't really realize until the RTT, because
Yeah.
memories came up, and I
Wow.
ended up kind of incorporating feeling I'm not enough, which is a limiting belief.
Mhm.
I felt I'm different. I can't really connect. Although I had friends, I could only connect on a certain level. So that's another limiting belief that I had internalized. But the thing about limiting beliefs, they're unconscious.
Yeah.
So they're under the surface and you don't realize that they're in operation. So, I'm just doing my thing. I'm getting my education. Then I went to college and medical school and, was able to become a psychiatrist. So, you know, in many eyes, I was successful and I was,
Mhm.
carrying out my purpose, but not knowing what other stuff was kind of operating is what's so interesting about the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's going on behind the scenes?
Yes.
And I think that's something that either we run away from
Mhm.
because we don't want to know what's behind the veil of our own
Mhm.
masquerade here,
Yeah.
because it can become very vulnerable to actually be introduced to yourself. It's a
Yes.
scary place.
Hmm.
And I speak that way because I know that I understand that, because I was just speaking with someone a little while back about my first marriage, which ended in divorce, and no one knew I was divorced for a whole year,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I didn't want to appear like a failure. I didn't want to look, I didn't want to be that person. And so I'm running and running and running away from, trying to um, hide this reality and who I was and what I had gone through. Now, that wasn't who I was, but it was just an experience in my life. And so I'm interested in this RTT because I think once again, we struggle not on the outside as much as we like to give that as much credit, but the struggle is really inner.
Hmm.
And how do we overcome that? So, and even more so, how do we deal with that? So the RTT method and strategy, you spoke about hypnosis because a lot of us have this thought about hypnosis. We have a thought about what hypnotherapy is, and you might have to break down hypnosis versus hypnotherapy. But we have this thought about it from past imagery
Hmm.
of lying on the couch and the pendulum swinging, from side to side.
Hmm.
And so, if you don't mind breaking, some of that down, because I think that's something that we, need to be clear about.
Sure. I'd be happy to talk about that. So,
Yeah.
hypnosis. Hypnosis is really it's a natural state, really, of deep relaxation. So you're very relaxed and you are able to concentrate in a very real way. Hypnosis kind of partners with the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is open to suggestions, whereas the conscious mind is trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us alive. So it's the gatekeeper.
Mhm.
So any kind of change, even positive change, seems dangerous to the conscious mind. So there is this kind of roadblock and a resistance. So a lot of the rational therapies, a lot of the traditional therapies use logic and are working with the conscious mind, which is why a lot of those therapies can take a really long time to be effective. Whereas RTT, which uses the unconscious mind, can make lots of changes, can make breakthroughs rather quickly, because the unconscious mind is guiding us in this process to the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
And then working through the process, we're able to kind of make meaning of what's going on, identify limiting beliefs, and then resolve them in the session. So I think that's a huge difference with RTT and other therapies. So hypnosis is the process that we use. Hypnotherapy makes use of hypnosis. So hypnotherapy, hypnosis in the hands of a trained professional can take care of a lot of different issues, anxiety, phobias, stop smoking. I mean, those are just some of the uses that
Mm-hmm.
we can use for hypnosis and hypnotherapy.
Gotcha. And you said something that I thought was kind of key, because I think as in our society now, we um like everything pretty much microwave style. Okay. And anything longer than whatever, it takes too long. Because you said something about quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the RTT process.
Mm-hmm.
So because when it comes to like weight loss, for instance, I
Mm-hmm.
use this as an example. That is not a lot of times. Yes, it can be a quick fix. You can go on some kind of a weight loss drug and boom, you can lose the weight.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about, lifestyle change and, long-term weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
then, you're talking about, changing some of the mindset,
Right.
changing some of the thought patterns and things like that.
Right.
And so that might take a little bit longer. So with RTT, is there how do you monitor that?
Mm-hmm.
Can people overcome certain, challenges or blockages fairly quickly, or does it just depend?
I mean, it definitely depends. But when I say quickly, that certainly is relative,
Yeah.
because rational therapies can take months and months and months and months
Hmm.
to resolve certain issues. Um, Whereas you might be able to get a lot done in a 2-hour RTT session.
Hmm.
You may be able to cover a lot of ground that it would take months to cover, if you're able to really deal with it at all with some of the other more traditional therapies. So, an
Gotcha.
example, I helped a woman who had she was suffering with extreme procrastination
Mm.
when she had to post to discussion boards in her grad school class. And it was just this feeling of paralysis. And it was very difficult for her to overcome and very frustrating, because she's a very bright woman and she just could not figure out, what is it that is making me have this difficulty. And in the session, what came out was there were some scenes during the hypnosis that made it clear that there was some trauma, some history of trauma. And the limiting belief that was taken away was, I have to stay small, I have to stay still, I have to fly under the radar in order to stay safe because of the trauma. Now, although she was no longer in a situation of trauma, her mind was still focusing on, I got to stay still.
Mhm.
And once we were able to kind of identify that and then do the work in the session to allow her to know that she no longer has to feel that way, to resolve the limiting beliefs, um, she was then able to, to be able to post and do her written assignments. It's not like she never procrastinated, but that feeling of paralysis, that feeling, that intense bodily feeling was gone. And then she was able to work and do what she needed to do. So that's just one example.
That's thank you for that because that definitely puts things into perspective, to hear a real life example
Yeah.
of somebody who has gone through, that type of a session
Hmm.
and to hear the success on the other side.
Hmm.
Now, of course, like in your profession and like my profession here, there can be that snapback type of effect
Hmm.
where yes, we get this far.
Hmm.
Does the mind have the ability to kind of like, okay, I want to begin to play safe and go back to those old thoughts?
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you ever experience anything like that?
So certainly,
Yeah.
because it's a matter of making what was uh, familiar, that
Mhm.
procrastination, trying to make that unfamiliar, and then making the better freed up thinking, making that more familiar. So there's a tendency to fall back.
Okay.
But what I didn't mention is in the session, I make a transformation recording, which is a recording of the positive suggestions which occur during the 2 hour session or
Mhm.
90-minute session.
Right.
So there are positive suggestions that reinforce what has occurred and reinforce the new thinking and really
Mhm.
rewire, what you're
Wow.
thinking. So they listen to that daily, and we recommend at least 21 days. So
Wow.
listening to the recording helps to reinforce what has occurred in the session. So that definitely helps.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense because
Yeah.
a question that I want to run past you right quick because it's something, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if either it's a waste of time, and I'm not being critical here, but like okay, I will sometimes go to sleep with like these things over my ears,
Mhm.
where I'm listening to these suggestions and things
Mhm.
like that
Mhm.
on some recording or what have you.
Mhm.
Do those types of things work in a mind that has probably not been through a a lowering of the
Mhm.
subconscious
Mhm.
or the conscious mind?
Mhm.
Because I'm thinking that if I'm asleep, then my conscious mind has become, a little lowered.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
can those positive reinforcement types of messages get through
Mhm.
if I'm in that sleep mode?
Yeah.
Am I doing something right there?
Yeah, I think that you can fall asleep listening to those kinds of things and get benefit
Yeah,
because it does go in the unconscious mind. And a lot of times I will recommend to someone when I make the recording, feel free to listen to it at bedtime. Okay,
gotcha.
so my recordings, the transformation recordings certainly do take you into induction
Right.
into a trance. But yes, it gets in. It
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I
Mhm.
just wondered. I just wondered
Yeah.
about that. And so yeah, now who are your best? Who are you working with these days in terms of your clientele? Who are your best candidates?
I am working with women of color who are in the professional realm. I mean, I have worked with women who are in medicine, corporate areas, entrepreneurs. And a lot of what has happened is I have encountered a lot of women who have come through, oppressive systems,
Yeah. Yeah.
and have really gotten beat up. And
Mhm.
so some of them are feeling stuck, some of them are feeling um, worn out. And so that tends to be the women that I've been working with.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I see that a lot. And, if you, and I know you have, but just watching, my wife in terms of, her day-to-day challenges and, in her corporate structure, um, and knowing what she has had to deal with in her childhood, I'm pretty sure that definitely plays into uh, uh, her decision making, in her life, as it does with us all. And so now what intrigued me, also about RTT is, and this is because like I'm being a little selfish here, because I read that it can help with areas in the area of health and wellness, such as weight management. And could you kind of like share a little bit about that? Because I was really kind of like intrigued by what I read about that.
Yes. So with weight management, food
Hmm.
has emotional underpinnings for
Mm.
us. So, what happens with diets while you're on the diet, it
Hmm.
works.
Yeah.
Okay. But once you get off the diet, you fall back into those patterns. And again, a lot of it can be very unconscious. So, what RTT does in the area of weight management is, first of all, I like to say to folks, we're not going to use the term weight loss
Hmm.
because the mind does not like the idea of loss.
Yeah.
So when you say weight loss, that's already setting you up for
Yeah.
failure because the mind
Yeah.
doesn't want you to lose. Okay. The mind wants you to hold on to stuff. So looking at RTT in the hypnosis, scenes are reviewed from the past. And what
Hmm.
often happens is there is some kind of connection where food has some meaning, whether it is comfort, whether certain sweet foods your grandmother used to bake for you, and that just gave you a wonderful feeling. Or, there was a case where a woman, her parents got divorced, so she didn't see her father very often. But when she saw her father, it was around getting candy or ice cream or some kind of sweet. So that memory, that's what she tied to sweets. Now, she didn't know that's what it was, but that's what came out.
Yeah.
So basically, you're able to understand what is the emotional issue with food, and you're able to kind of resolve that. Yes, I can have this great feeling without having to run to sweets or chips or whatever.
Right.
So that's the way RTT can help with weight management to deal with those emotional underpinnings of food.
And I use that term specifically because I don't like the word weight loss either.
Right, right.
So thank you for that. I feel like I've actually achieved something here. Like
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
I'm using right terms and all these things. So, but like, so we've heard of, so we're getting a nice understanding of RTT. A lot of people have heard the difference, have heard of the other term NLP. And is there a similarity or is there something different with the two approaches?
Yeah, I mean, so there certainly is overlap and similarity. It's looking at uh, the terms, looking at the words that you're using, looking at rewiring uh,
Mm.
cognitions. So there certainly is, there is a lot of overlap between the techniques. Mhm.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so, like I said, I'm really, I like doing these because I get like a master class, of information on things that, it's like, wow, these are things that I need to be harnessing and thinking about and actually practicing. Because mindset, I think, is so important. Um, it really is, I think, the birth of who we are,
Mhm.
in terms of how we live our lives, because everything is pretty much thought.
Mhm.
Our actions, are pinned to our childhood impressions.
Mhm.
Whether if you were that kid that was given, that was, abused in an abusive situation versus a kid that was in an abusive situation, and how they respond to the world. Within your practice itself, something that I came across that I thought was, really interesting on your website, was the genome something medication. I thought that was pretty interesting, because I think we are so um, heavily medicated in our society.
Mhm.
And so that you have a system that actually can, look at your genetic, you know, uh, makeup and determine what's best for you, I think is pretty cool within the practice. If you can kind of like elaborate a little bit on that, I would love to hear more.
Yeah. I do want to make the differentiation that I am really using the RTT mostly in my coaching practice. Now,
Yeah,
in my psychiatry practice,
yeah,
I do offer pharmacogenomic testing
there we go.
because there are some medications, some classes of medications that may not work as well because of your genetics. So, for instance, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. That's a class of antidepressants, and it's very commonly used, and many people tolerate them very well, and they
Mhm.
work for a good proportion of people. But genetically, there may be certain enzymes that don't allow serotonin transport to happen efficiently. And I'm not going to get into a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If that is the case, you are not going to have a good response to, in general, the SSRIs, which are
Yeah.
things like Lexapro. Um, Prozac is one of them, Zoloft. So there may be certain medications that you are really not going to respond to well. So I think that if someone fails a certain medication, um, I may then move to recommend that they get the pharmacogenomic testing to see if that is the case. And then, I'll definitely prescribe something in a different class.
Well, I applaud you for that, because I think that shows a certain care, than just, saying, take this, take that, take this, and if it doesn't work, then, take something else.
Mhm.
But you actually, provide a strategic path to overall, mental health. And like I said, over the past few years, I've just noticed, from, you know, different, either watching the news, that we are in a state of, challenge when it comes to our mental health. And so I applaud you once again for being that person that's stepping up and saying, listen, we have a strategy that, we feel that can use, we can get, that will be very useful, that is beneficial to the average everyday person, or in your market, the professional woman that is looking to peel away some of that onion and get to the center of why she is kind of stuck in life. And so definitely, like I said, I applaud you in that effort. So if you don't mind sharing with us where you are with regards to your website, and how people can get in contact with you, for sure.
Sure. So my website address
Mhm.
is drwalkercoach.com. So that will take you to my coaching website. I'm on Facebook, Kimberly Walker, and
Mhm.
I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Kimberly Walker. So, those are
Awesome.
ways that you can definitely contact me.
Awesome. Well, Doc, thank you so much, for hanging out with us and sharing a little bit about the RTT strategy and approach. I think it's so helpful, and I look forward to learning more about it. Um, because once again, like I said, we're peeling back that onion of, what's got us, stuck in a certain pattern
Mhm.
in life. And like I said, I know what it feels like to be stuck in a pattern. Um, and I pretty much, you probably know what it's like to be stuck in a pattern also.
Yes.
And now, if you had not done the RTT, um, if you had not found it, this approach, uh, uh, and you went through that burnout phase,
Mhm.
any idea where you might be, at this point in time?
I don't know,
Yeah,
because it was bad,
is that bad, huh?
and I feel like it was a game changer. I mean, I feel like new life was breathed into me because I was just able to see a path forward.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's hard for me to say where I would be
Okay.
without it. So,
What's in the future for you and your company, your business, and your coaching practice?
well, it's a recent launch,
Hmm.
so I am you know, the entrepreneurial journey is very interesting to me, and I'm really still trying to figure it out, but
Hmm.
I am excited. Oh, there's one thing that I would like to mention. So I do
Yes.
have a free PDF, uh,
Yeah.
5-step guide to getting unstuck. So
Hmm.
I do encourage people to go to my website to download that, and hopefully that can jumpstart
Started.
getting some help. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll definitely want to do that because I'm always looking just to improve and work on myself.
Mhm.
So I'll definitely love to check out the download and all. So, but once again, Doc, thank you so much, for sharing your expertise, and thank you for what you're doing in society. I appreciate you coming on for a few minutes to share RTT with us.
Okay. Well, thank you for speaking with me. I do appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and I wish you the best, and anything like I said, I can do to just to kind of like, show some love. I'm definitely going to do that because once again, I think that this is so needed versus, you know, we have to get to mind, to mindset first. We have to understand why we do what we do and why we behave in the way that we behave. And like I said, when I was running from people at that one point in time, because uh, I didn't want anyone to think that I was a failure. And that has its own history, you know, from a young age. I'm almost certain.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, these types of strategies are definitely needed, and I look forward to uh, hopefully sending people your way.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So thank you so much once again. So everybody, listen, I hope you got, some really value. I know I got some really valuable information. I know I did today. Like I said, this is why I love doing these shows because it's almost like a little coaching for me as I move throughout my life and things like that. So I really enjoy that. So get in contact with Dr. Kimberly Walker. And Doc, if you don't mind mentioning your website one more time where people can find you.
Dr. Coach. I'm sorry, drwalkercoach.com.
Awesome.
drwalkercoach.com. Mhm.
drwalkercoach.com. So that's easy to remember, everybody. So reach out and find out more about her because this is why we bring these people to the show so they can highlight what they do because we need them. Okay. They're out there in the trenches each and every day helping people live their best life. Henceforth, the name of the show, Living Your Best Life. So thank you, Doctor, for hanging out with us. And everybody, reach out to her. All righty. So you guys take care. And I'll catch you on the next episode of Living Your Best Life. Y'all take care. Bye bye.